Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a little bit different than normal because instead of showing you one farm, I'm going to be showing you all these farms which I have behind me right now. So all these farms I built on Sipover's World Extinction event, which if you don't know is an event that Sipover hosted recently where we had 30 days before a meteor hit the earth and everyone died, except like me and Sipover. But anyways, that's spoilers. If you care about the story and stuff, then you're not going to get any of that here, except for that I guess. But if you want the story, then you can check out Sipover's channel. He has those videos. This is going to be focused more on the farms, as you can probably tell, instead of the story. All of these farms are basically in chronological order as to when we built them during the event. So this first farm over here is a combination of a villager breeder and a trading hall, which was for the very early game, so it's actually a different version of a trading hall than this one over here. You might actually remember this breeder because I've showed it on my channel before. It was a pretty long time ago, but basically it's a very simple design. You've probably seen something like this, if not the exact same design. But basically, we have these farm villagers in here which have all these crops inside of this area, and they'll harvest all these crops, which lets them breed, because they need crops to be able to breed with each other. And they also need beds which are next to them, which is what these are for over here. And they also have this trapdoor so that they think they can reach it to get to the beds. The reason we don't actually let them reach it is so that the babies can reach it, and they'll try to pathfind into it, and they'll jump through this little gap right here and fall down here. And down here we have a little mechanism which separates the adult villagers from the baby villagers, and then we do that, them rubbing up against this wall right here, just like that, and an adult will do what I just did and float up to the top, but the baby won't be able to reach because its hitbox is too small. One thing before we move on to the trading hall is that up here, these beds have to have a 2-block gap above them. There's been so many times I've built this in survival and not remembered this, and been really annoyed when I found out that it was just a simple mistake like that. But yeah, anyways, if you're building that survival, then make sure you do that. This one's a little bit different, and it was tweaked for the early game. As you can see, there's a lot less sticky pistons and stuff going down back here compared to this one, which is basically that same version. But anyways, the main idea behind this trading hall right here is we have the villagers land on this bell right here, which lures them over to a bed, which is all the way over here. And then they'll pathfind towards that bed, and they'll walk on this pathway right here all the way till the end, and then they'll drop down. Sometimes they actually won't make it to the end, and they'll land somewhere in the middle, which is kind of annoying, and you have to do some manual stuff to be able to get around that. But it's not that big of a hassle, especially for such a cheap design. I actually would recommend building this one instead, but we had a very limited time to finish this event, and we didn't want to waste time waiting to have a slime farm built before we actually got to start doing stuff. And also, something I should mention, during this event we did not have access to the end or the nether, which meant that we couldn't get things like magma blocks, which is why in the cheaper version I put the berries in the front instead of the magma blocks, because in the event it was also a map of basically the earth, so the only way we had to get the magma blocks was from the volcanoes in Hawaii, and we were in Russia, so yeah, that was kind of annoying to be able to reach. But once they fall into these cells down here, they'll activate this tripwire, which will be detected by this observer, and then that will pull this composter back down again, and when that happens it will deactivate this fence gate up here, and that means that it will be closed for the next villager so that they can't walk over to it. And then once they reach down here, they can't move because their pathfinding is blocked by these blocks around them. If you don't know, villagers can't pathfind through blocks like berries and stuff like that because they find them dangerous. So basically they think things like berries, magma blocks, fire, whatever is dangerous because, well, they are. But the berries actually won't hurt them just by standing inside of them. They only hurt when you're moving inside of them, and they don't hurt at all if they're the smaller versions. And if you actually want to be more safe about it, you can use only those smaller versions by making it dark enough so that the berries can't grow. We actually did this for the last version of the trading hall we built on Sipover's Extinction event. And so now I'm going to show you how to use this thing. So basically when a villager comes through, he sometimes makes it all the way to the end, sometimes he'll fall in the middle. Let's see which one happens. It looks like he's going to make it. So this time we make it to the end. Oh, actually he's doing something else. So when they start doing that and hurting themselves like that, you can just place a block in front of them and then break it, and then, oh, didn't mean to break that string. And then they'll not be able to hurt themselves like that. So yeah, if you're watching them fall in, make sure to place a block just in case they start doing that. I don't know why they do that in this design. They don't do it in the other one, but that's just one of the other quirks with this design if you're willing to go for the cheaper alternative. And then if you put another villager here, because there's actually another situation I want to show you. I was doing it again this time. It's just unlucky. You can just place a block like I said. You can see that time he didn't start jumping around and stuff, but he did make it all to the end. I'm trying to get the situation where he doesn't make it all the way to the end. Oh, there we go. As you can see, he fell early. So when that happens, as you can see, it would block all of the other villagers from being able to reach past this point, which would leave a massive gap until you actually mess with it manually. So the way you fix that is you just flip this trapdoor closed so that the villagers would just always walk over the top, and then you can open this manually. And then if we send another villager, hopefully he actually makes it over. Just like that, he has to walk over it and he can't fall down. And then we have this other design over here, which is meant for the later parts of the game. I don't know why I built this breeder again, it's the same one, but this trading hall is different. This is the one that I've shown in the other video on this channel, but this actually does have a little system down here which is different. But basically, the way that this system works is basically identical to the other one, but it's just kind of a more reliable way of keeping the villagers from moving to the next stall. So basically, what I mean by that is when the villager lands here, this observer will activate just like the other one, but this time it will pull down this composter and then close this trapdoor so that no villagers can walk over it again, and then it will also remove this block up here, which means that the villagers can't go to the next one after that. This basically means that there's a guarantee that they'll all fall into ones going all the way over here in the right order, and then there'll be no weird blockages like over there, which you could fix with some manual things. So now I'm going to show the trading hall in action. So if I spawn a couple villagers, as you can see they'll walk into their cells. As you can see, all of them walked into their cells perfectly. So now you can just give them their jobs whatever we want. So as you can see, they'll get the job that's right in front of them every single time, because it's the one closest to them, and they can't actually pathfind to the other blocks. Because sometimes, with other trading halls, if you have them really close together like this, then sometimes they'll be able to reach the one over here, for instance if they're all the way over here, and then they actually won't get the job, but then they will stop the other one from getting the job, which is just something annoying that sometimes happens, but that does not happen with this design. But anyways, if we give them a job like that, and then we trade with them, so we can get Silk Touch, it's actually a good book this time, and then we break this, and then we can break the block underneath, and then ring the bell. Just like in the other design, they'll walk off the edge. Instead of having the area to kill them down here, we actually have a zombification chamber now, which helped a lot on the server for us to get emeralds, because this zombification thing is kind of just really broken. But anyways, the way you use it is you just flip this open so the zombie sees him. You can tell when he moves like that, and then you flip it again, and you can start walking over. This is a little bit scuffed, and sometimes you'll get stuck, but you can kind of getting out eventually if you just kind of mess with it for a little while. As you can see, he killed the villager. So at this point, you can either just kill him or you can cure him right now. And the advantage that you have zombifying and then curing is that the villagers won't get mad at you. So it has basically the functionality of the old design where you can just kill your villagers without making them mad, and then you also get the functionality that you can cure them for better traits. So if I cure him, I can just splash weakness, do this. On the server, of course, we'd use weakness arrows because we didn't have access to the nether. While they're doing this, you need to set up something at the top that I almost forgot about actually. So the way that you deal with the zombifying villagers is you put water at the top like this. Make sure it's in the right spot, otherwise you can break these berries, and that's a very, very bad thing. And then also make sure you put blocks up here just to make sure they stay safe. That should be enough. And then I'm just going to speed up the game so we can see him go up. That's actually something that I forgot about with design. For the zombification, they have to be the normal berries, otherwise sometimes they'll just kill themselves in the water. So the way you do that is you make it dark enough, and then you have these all be the berries like this. So I'm just going to show that again with the berry like this. I'm actually going to turn off, we're going to take speed, just like that, so that this berry won't grow. You can just make it dark enough, like I said, so that the villagers won't kill themselves like that. So if we get another villager, oh, the game's still sped up. So if we block this and then block the water off, Be very careful when you do stuff like that, because again, they can break the berries. And then if you put this back, then we can give him his job again, and then buy whatever we need from him, just like that, to lock in his trade, and then do the same thing again. So now that he's a zombie, we can just come up here and place the water again, and then do this. And now he shouldn't be able to kill himself on those berries like he did the first time. As you can see, he came up and he was perfectly fine this time now that we got rid of the fully grown berries. So yeah, if you're doing this, make sure to have your light levels low enough, or have the random tick speed off if you're fine with that while you're using this, just so that the villagers won't kill themselves when they come back up. And then once they're back up, you can place a block right here so they don't walk away, and then get rid of the water, and then get rid of these blocks, and then place that back. You probably want to place this block back before you actually break the blocks like I just did, because sometimes they'll just walk down there by themselves without the bell, so make sure to do that. But most cases you're fine doing that, and if they do fall down, you just kind of have to push them back up with water. It's not that big of a deal. But as you can see, if I go to his trades, now he has very, very cheap trades just from that one zombification, and these zombifications do stack, so if you just do it again and cure him, then he'll have even cheaper trades, so I could get one bookshelf for 1 emerald, for example. And then from here, we actually move on to stuff that I haven't covered on my channel before. So this is actually a Tripwire hook duper, and you may be thinking, why would you ever need that? But actually, it's very, very effective for making emeralds, because they collect your villagers, which was the villager we actually had the most of, because we were trying to get potion effects from the villagers, since we had no nether. Basically, they have a trade that allows you to trade in Tripwire hooks for emeralds, and then we could zombify them to make that trade even cheaper. So of course, since we had so many of these fletchers, I wanted to make a Tripwire hook duper that was extremely fast so that we could use this as much as possible. But before I show the actual really fast Tripwire hook duper, I'm going to show the dupe. So I actually have shown a Tripwire hook duper on my channel before, but this one's much, much faster than the old one. So as you can see with this basic example, if I go up to the Tripwire hook right here, then activate it, then we get 2 items dropped, but one of them stayed. So that means that it duped. As you can see, if I flip this up again, do this, then we get another 2, but the other one stays, and so on. This trick is directional, so make sure you build this farm facing the right way if you do go build it in survival mode. You can also make it going one of these directions, test it before you do that. I don't actually remember which one it is, and I'm too lazy to test it myself. But if you build it the direction it is in this world, which I'll put the world down in the description by the way, then you will be fine too. So the way that this Tripwire hook duper works is it uses the same mechanic that I just showed, but it basically just does that and automates it, and then also scales it up so that we have 6 of them running at the same time. So this is basically 6 of the same thing tiled next to each other, or I guess it's more like 2 of the same thing scaled next to each other, but they're both 3 wide and have 3 little modules inside of them. So what I mean by that is if I look at one of these little sections, which they're split into 2 like I said before, basically what happens is when this tripwire activates, which is whenever we place down one of these tripwire hooks, because this boat is actually inside of this tripwire hook right here, and that will activate the tripwire, and that will send a signal to this redstone, which is inside the soul sand, which is really hard to see because of the minecarts, but it will go down here and then deactivate these redstone torches, which will deactivate these iron trapdoors. And the reason they're iron trapdoors and we have to activate them like this is because otherwise the player would just flip them like it's because normal trapdoors the player can interact with. The iron trapdoors just makes it easier to work with, so you don't have to have the player shifting or something like that. And then also the reason we have to close them and stuff is so that the player can actually start placing the tripwires again, because if we just leave them open, then obviously you can't place the tripwire hooks on those. Once that activates, we also send a signal over to this area right here, because this piston gets activated through this block. It's really hard to see, but it gets activated through the same redstone line, and that cuts off this redstone line right here, and then that will pull back this piston right here, which will pull the boat back because the boat's actually inside of the piston, and then the boat will be pulled back, and that will mean that it's not inside of this hitbox anymore, which means the tripwire will deactivate, which finishes the dupe, and then that will deactivate everything, which will basically reset everything, bring this piston back, and then the boat is in the same position, so the next time a tripwire hook gets placed, then it will activate. So basically, since it actually only activates from the middle trapdoor, we have the player place one, and then this one, and then this one very, very quickly, but it actually only detects this one in the middle. But since all of them were placed so quickly together, it will activate them all at the right time, and they will perform the dupe perfectly, and basically just means you'll get 3 times the amount than it actually would have detected for, if that makes any sense. But basically we have 6 of these little modules right next to each other, split into 2 modules. It's really confusing to explain, but it's not really that complicated. And then if you're wondering why all of these hopper minecarts are everywhere, basically that's how we pick up all the tripwire hook items. The reason we have to have them everywhere is because if they weren't there, the items would just kind of fly everywhere. And when the items fly everywhere, they can activate these tripwires, and that can mess everything up, because if there's a tripwire right just like standing on this chest right here, then that means that even though this boat would be retracted, there is still an entity on the tripwire, and that would basically mean that this part of the module will be stuck until that item despawns. So once these hopper minecarts pick up items, they kind of just get transported down just like this. It's very hard to see, but they basically just kind of go down through these hopper minecarts and then into these droppers into the same water stream. The redstone for this is really messy because I made this very quickly since I wanted to make it as soon as possible during the event. But anyways, once the items go through this water stream, they'll go down here, up this, and then they'll go into here, and the player will actually be standing right here placing the tripwire hooks. So if they're standing here and they don't have enough tripwires, then the tripwire hooks will just go straight into their inventory, and then otherwise, since they have a full inventory, it will just fall down here, and it will be able to go down into the storage system down here, into these chests. So now I'm going to show myself using them. I like to have 2 stacks of tripwire hooks, one in my offhand, one in my main hand, so it starts at full speed, but you don't actually need to do this. And then you're going to have to go into this area right here. It's kind of scary. Just make sure not to push anything around. Just like that. And then I need to go into survival to really show this. And then you're going to need something to click very, very fast, because just holding down right click won't be fast enough. The way that you can do this is by using something like Twiggeroo, like I have. As you can see, I can just hit a hotkey and then toggle a auto clicker basically to be able to do this. But if you don't want to do that, then you can just bind use in the settings to any key on your keyboard, and then when you hold down that key, it will be spammed very, very, very quickly. So you can basically just get the same results by doing that, but using Twiggeroo is just kind of easier. Oh, actually, before we start this, I actually forgot to actually turn it on. So to turn it on, you have to activate this lever down here. This just activates all the droppers and stuff. That's very, very loud. Okay, now my block's volume is way lower. If you go back in here, go back in survival, make sure fast right click's turned on, then we can just stand in here, look right here, and then start placing the tripwire hooks. Just hold right click. And you can see we're placing the tripwires very, very quickly. And then after a little bit, we should start getting them back. As you can see, we're getting a lot more than we actually put into it back. It's not really noticeable yet, but we'll start getting a lot more, just like that. And if you're wondering why I'm standing in this spot specifically, we can actually place the tripwire inside of the tripwire and place it behind us, just like that, which is a little bit strange, but it lets us get an extra block in there, so that's why it's like that. As you can see, this thing is very, very fast. I'm pretty sure it was about 40,000 tripwire hooks per hour, which is very, very, very fast, especially compared to anything else I could find. I think the fastest I could find was 12,000, and then the one that I made was actually, I think it was a lot less than that. I think it was maybe 2,000? That's just coming off the top of my head. That was a really old video, so I could be completely wrong. But as you can see, while I was talking about that, I have made over a full hotbar's worth of tripwire hooks. They'll probably start coming in more. Just like that, we made a ton more tripwire hooks. If you want to, you can just fill your inventory with dummy items so that the other items will just go straight into the storage system. But for the purposes where we're using it in, which was to trade with the villagers, it was nice just to have this next to our trading hall, and then just keep them in inventory, go through all the villagers, and just trade through them really, really, really quickly, and then get a ton of emeralds just like that. And then once you're done, make sure to come back down here and turn this off like that. Okay, so it's been like a week since that last clip, and the reason for that is because I got sick, which is the second time that's happened while I tried to record this. So instead of waiting for it to like go away so my voice doesn't sound weird, I'm just going to do it while my voice sounds weird. So if you notice it, that's why. But anyways, what this is it's an infinite potion generator. So the way that this works is we basically have a creeper that's blowing up inside of another creeper's lingering effect, because if you didn't know, when a creeper has a potion effect and it blows up, then it will create a lingering effect cloud of the effect that it had. And it can also do it with multiple effects that it has. It will also have the duration of the effect that was applied to it when the creeper was blown up. And we can actually use that to blow up the creeper the instant it picks up an effect, and then keep cycling creepers and blowing them up the instant they pick up the lingering effect. And if we keep doing that every single time, that means the creeper will never decrease the duration of the effect, but it will still blow up and refresh the area effect cloud. So you basically just get an infinite area of effect for potions on the ground. And the reason this is useful for this server in particular is that we can use the tip arrows and get area effect clouds so that we can all get the potion effects we want to defend ourselves. We just put this in our big bunker, which we never used. But anyways, it could have been useful if that was put into use for things like regenerating health, getting speed before the battle, getting strength, whatever. So we wouldn't have to shoot ourselves. Instead, we could just all stand inside of this little effect and then go, which would be a lot easier than sitting there and shooting yourself with all the different effects. But the way we actually do that with the system is we have to have a creeper, obviously, and a supply of them, which foreshadowing. But then we also have to have a way to aggravate the creeper, which is the skeleton. The skeleton will be shooting at the iron golem, and then we can just drop an arrow from here whenever we want to, and then it will hit the creeper as it's moving along. And then that will cause it to blow up, and we can use that to time the explosion. And then when it's the right time for the creeper to explode, we just drop it through the soul sand block, because the minecart will snap to this rail down here, and then it will blow up at the same time, and it's also inside of the water, so the thing will blow up, and also the water will be flowing, so the minecart item will be dropped since it got exploded by the creeper, and then flow back up to the top where we started. So that's the very basic description of this. The rest of it is just timing, which was kind of hard to get, but it wasn't that bad. Another thing is that you might have noticed that I've actually already done something very similar to this on my channel before. This is just kind of an improved version. As you can see, it's a lot more compact than the other one. The only thing it is lacking is it doesn't have the shulker to give you levitation, and the reason for that is, well, it's kind of useless anyways, but it's also especially useless to put into a design that I'm making on a server that does not have an end dimension, so that would mean there would be no shulkers to use this with. So that's the basics behind how this thing actually works. I'm just going to show it in action now, because it's a lot easier to see what it does when you can see it working. So basically, first thing you need to do when you turn it on is make sure this is on like that. The reason it's like that is because that's the off switch. It can also turn itself off automatically if it runs out of creepers, so that's another way it turns off, so that's why it might not be like that already. Then if we go up here, we can just spawn in our creepers. Otherwise, you would just use a farm for the creepers. And then what we have to do is open this, and then just make sure you have a couple of effects. You can have as many as you want and stack them all together. The only things that don't work with this farm is the instant damage and instant health arrows. I'm pretty sure you actually can get lingering clouds from these guys when it does that, but it doesn't actually do it the exact same tick. It does it one tick before it blows up, because I was too lazy to make it actually work on the exact frame. And the reason for that is because the last frame when the creeper is exploding, it's inside of the soul sand block, and I'd have to basically redo everything. And we only had 30 days for the event, so, but anyways, if I put in our arrows right here, I'm actually going to wait, because if you start this, then it will actually waste one of the arrows, which is kind of a problem with it, but you can just start it, and then it takes a while to do anyways, so. So now the creeper's down here. I'm just going to put in our arrows. As you can see, it got it with strength. I'm going to turn hitboxes on so that you can see it, and then I should be able to get the other effect. And now we have both the effects at once, so if I stand in here, I get both those effects, as you can see, glowing and strength. And this will last as long as you leave it on for, as long as you supply enough creepers for it, and make sure to keep it loaded, obviously. As you can see, it's able to keep up with one thing standing inside of the potion effect range and taking up the effect. You'd have to time it differently depending on how many times you want to inflict the effect each time the cloud is summoned, because as you can see, if I stand in this, it shrinks the cloud. I actually didn't stand in it that time. As you can see, it will shrink the cloud whenever I stand in it. So like if I stand right here right now, it will have a shorter square than it was before.
just like that. And you can also see it shrink when the creeper picks it up too. But as you can see, this will run until we run out of creepers. So you can basically just leave this on forever. It doesn't really serve that much of a purpose outside of that event, unfortunately. Aside from maybe some kind of villager trading hall, you could put it with a weakness area effect cloud and then just have the villagers go in there and then cure them for free, which could be pretty cool. But that's pretty much it. There might be something like you might be able to use regeneration to heal them, but there's like beacons for that. I guess you could do regeneration 2 instead, which is cool. But okay, so this is the last creeper. As you might have noticed, this piston retracted, so the signal can't actually go to the rest of the farm. And then we end up with a creeper down here, and then this will slowly fade away. So now that it's like this, you basically just have to kill this creeper somehow. You can just like hit him, I guess, or you can shoot him with a bow or something, and then you can just take this minecart and put it back into the dispenser up here. And then after you do that, you also have to make sure to turn this off, and that's basically it. So now that I've shown you the potion effect generator, I'm going to show you the way I actually got creepers for the generator itself. So this is just kind of a basic creeper farm. It uses some little cool mechanic where we use the hitbox of the minecarts to stop spiders from spawning, but otherwise it's basically just a normal creeper farm where we have the dispensers, which will place water up here, and then it's sending an update through the entire chain, and then you can just stack a bunch of these on top of each other as many as you want, and then we have the hopper clock up here. So if I turn this on, you can see it's just getting rid of the water, and they're alternating, and then we'll flow whatever's in here. Oh, there's actually some creepers already. It also spawns a lot of squids and bats and stuff, which isn't really that big of a problem on server because that mob pack's normally taken up by everyone else. But it's like that. I'm going to actually show you some spawning. I have to be up high though. This should definitely be high enough. And then if I go down here with free cam, you can see some spawning. There's one right there. But now let's just start spawning here. There's some bats. There's a couple more right there. Obviously with this few layers, it's going to be pretty slow. On the server I built way more layers. I built it pretty much from bedrock to the surface, which took forever for something we never used, but it was pretty cool, and it was nice to see it actually working in survival, because I did really like the concept a lot. Even though it's kind of a little useless, it's really cool. So, but after the creepers get flushed down, they go down into here, and then they can basically be killed by whatever. I'm pretty sure what I did is I just flowed them to this thing, and then I had a little system to make sure they didn't take any decramming damage when they were in here, and then basically just had them backlog themselves in the water stream if that did happen. But if you did actually want to use this as a normal creeper farm, you could basically do whatever you wanted with this. Maybe you could cycle back up to the player and have the player kill them with looting, or you could just kill them down here, or you could store them in the nether, I guess, if you really wanted to, and then kill them with looting later. But yeah, then we also have this very compact, small little chicken farm. But the difference between this chicken farm and most other chicken farms is it actually lets you use looting, and that way you get a lot more chicken, and it also lights them on fire for you so you get cooked chicken from it as well. With the other designs, it's normally just like lava above the baby chickens where they'd be right here, and so that it kills the adult chickens when they grow up, and then the items just go to wherever you want. But this way we can just kind of leave the chickens here and kill them. What we used this for was in our little bunker at the very, very end before the meteor was about to hit. We were basically all confined to one place in the area of Gus. If you know about the story at all, you probably don't, and you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But yeah, basically we were all confined into one area, and we had to basically fight for our area, and we didn't want to be noticed, so we made a very secret little tunnel, and we just kind of head down there, and our area in there was one tall, so that's why this is here. We basically wanted to have a bunch of little compact farms to keep us alive down there. So now I'm just going to show you me using this. So I'm going to get a sword. So now that you have those effects on the sword, you can just go in here, and then all you have to do is flip this lever. I'm actually going to pick up all these items right here because it looks like there's a couple chickens that have actually died because there's so many in there. But if I throw out all these items, then I can just do this. And then when I flick this lever again, they're going to get burnt by the dispenser, which has all these flint steel in them. Oh look, there's another chicken. And then after it does that, it will push up this piston, which will break the fire, and then also lift the chickens back up to where I can hit them. So if I do that, As you can see, we got a ton of chicken from that, and the effect of looting does actually work on chicken, despite, you know, how would you get multiple from one chicken? Minecraft doesn't care about those rules, so looting does actually increase the amount of chicken you get. I can show the numbers on screen, I guess. I don't actually know how much it increases it, but it is a lot. It's a very noticeable difference. And finally, all the way over here, we have the Overworld Enderman farm. So, again, we didn't have the End or the Nether on the server, so we couldn't make a conventional Enderman farm, but we still obviously wanted Ender Pearls since they're extremely powerful because of their powerful ability to teleport you around very, very easily, especially combined with the power of the Riptide Trident. So you might be thinking, how did I make an Enderman farm work in the Overworld? And the way that this works is you have this Endermite in a minecart over here, which draws in all the Endermen, which is normally standard for an Enderman farm. And then basically what we do is we stand just outside of the mob spawning range, and then every single time that clock pulses all the way up there, which you might be able to see, that piston will activate, it will get pushed up, and then that will despawn everything that's down here. And that will just happen occasionally, so every normal enemy will just kind of be walking around doing nothing really, and then the Endermen will be angry at this Endermite, which, wait, where'd he go? I think I forgot to name him. Okay, anyways, I got a new Endermite in here, which I also didn't name because I'm too lazy to. But once the Endermen go towards this Endermite in the middle, because they're angry at it, they'll get stuck in this boat up here, which is inside of this minecart. And the reason for that is so that the boats don't like launch themselves out, and we actually have this minecart on a rail right here, I think. Yep, you can barely see it. It's very hard to tell, but it is on top of a rail so that doesn't get launched out. And the scaffolding on the side is holding down because this bottom part actually does have hitbox. So basically what this allows us to do is we just stack a bunch of minecarts with boats inside of them, and then we can have 2 Endermen per boat. And then we basically just have a bunch of Endermen stuck down here, and then we come down every once in a while with a looting sword and kill all the Endermen that are waiting for us down here. So this would actually be proved to be very, very useful in the survival world. And then obviously it also has to be nighttime to use this farm, because otherwise you have to build a giant roof, which would be too annoying. So now I'm at the AFK spot. So what you have to do when you're up here is you'd have some kind of path, obviously, to get up here in the first place. And then you just turn this on with the lever, and you stand on top of this piston, and then every once in a while it will push you back up again. I'm just going to stand down here so you can actually see everything working. As you can see, the enemies will periodically get despawned, but eventually a bunch of them will start spawning on here. It looks like we actually got a skeleton that accidentally walked into it. Eventually an Enderman will spawn, and then they'll have enough time to walk all the way to the middle most of the time, and then go to the Endermite, which despawned. No! Okay, so I got the Endermite in there again, and this time I made sure I named him. So now if I stand back up on our area up here, you can watch it again, and this time he won't despawn because I named him. I'm just going to speed up the game because it's a lot easier to test that way. As you can see, we got an Enderman instantly after I started doing that. On the server, I was actually having a lot better luck with the Enderman. It might be something to do with the amount of players on the server or something with the mob cap. I don't really know why it would be faster there. I actually moved this up a little bit higher. I guess it's probably a little bit higher than it was in the world. I made sure to move it up higher so I could give rates that kind of accurately reflected what it would look like in a survival world if you built this on the surface, which is obviously what it's intended for. But as you can see, this thing does work. It does take a little while to get ender pearls, but it's fast enough to the point where it's fine for survival if you just kind of go there every single time it's night. So if I drop down here, what I would do in survival is normally just go down some kind of water stream, or if I was feeling really risky, you can actually jump inside of that scaffolding when you're shifting and make it down there. So if you go like this, I think I would have landed it there, but I was in creative, so can't really tell. But basically, when you want to use it, you can just do this and walk up against this trapdoor, which is what that's for, and then you're in the right range so that you don't accidentally break the boat or anything or hit the endermite, and then you can still hit the endermen and kill them. So if I just go like that, oh, mate, creeper. Okay, like I was just saying, if I go up here in survival and walk up like this, Okay, there's phantoms now. Okay, so as I was saying, I go up against this right here, and then start killing these Endermen. You can see it actually did drop a bunch of Ender Pearls and XP. So from that, he got about a stack of Ender Pearls. And yeah, obviously in a normal world this would be completely useless, unless if you had the same restrictions as on the server, because if you didn't have access to both dimensions, it's very, very useful actually. We got pretty much all of our pearls this way, and it actually served its purpose very, very well throughout the event, which I'm very happy with for something this simple. But obviously on a normal world you could just build a normal Enderman farm in the end. You could build a penguin bartering farm for the nether to get Ender Pearls that way. You could also just make an Enderman farm in the nether if you wanted to for some reason. But yeah, just a cool little thing I made for this event. Oh, and then I almost forgot about this last one. So we have this drown farm as well, which you might recognize a little bit because it looks pretty similar to the other design I made on this channel, and that's my most viewed video for some reason, which is also my first tutorial. I don't know how that happened, but anyways, this farm is a little bit different because obviously we can't use the nether to transport the drowns into there, so we basically just have them come up. Oh well, perfect timing. We just basically have them come up here and land in this chamber right here, and then this is how we got all of our tridents for the event. I built it pretty early on, and our team was basically just the only team with tridents throughout the entire event, so this was definitely worth building on the server and gave us a massive advantage over the other teams. So the way this works is actually a little bit different than the other one. The other one used turtle eggs, but it was actually really, really hard to find turtle eggs on the for some reason. Probably because it was a world map of the Earth, and for some reason, like, everyone killed all the turtles or something. I don't know what happened to them, because I'm pretty sure I saw one in the early days of the event, and then I could never find one again. So what I did is I made a modification to this. So the way we do that is we have the villager that's in here, inside of this mass of boats, and what the boats do from actually being able to hit the villager, because the boats will be able to tank them, and we have a bunch of them here, so that whenever one breaks, it'll get picked up by the hopper minecart. That's also where the villager is standing, and then it will go in here and then get dispensed back up into here, and then they will be inside of this little area right here, and they can't leave because of these walls right here. So the hitbox from the walls will actually go above these trapdoors, and that will stop the boats from being able to leave. And now basically a drowned can never really get through this. So yeah, that's how we defend our villager in here, because I couldn't really use only geometry to stop the trident from hitting him. Instead I just had to use to kind of brute force it with a bunch of hitboxes. After that, there really isn't much to it. They get launched up the bubble elevator, and then they go into this water stream up here, which flows them right into this area right here, where you can just kill them for their loot, which looks like we got a couple boats in there, probably just from testing. But yeah, that's about it for this video. If you liked it, then please leave a like. If you really enjoyed it, then please subscribe. Oh, actually, one last thing that I want to talk about. So on this channel, I've only ever uploaded Minecraft videos, and I still plan to keep uploading Minecraft videos, but I might actually start uploading some videos of different games. Main one that I'm thinking about right now is Risk of Rain 2, because I've started to get back into that game a lot recently, and kind of wanted to just make some videos about some tech I've found and stuff, because I think it's pretty cool, and maybe some neat little item synergies and stuff. But if you don't like whatever content I make, hopefully you guys could just ignore it, I guess. But I will keep making Minecraft videos, so don't like unsubscribe and like kill me or something. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.